planet.
Should you buy Stellaris the Grand Archive? As you might have guessed from the thumbnail, the answer is maybe. Before I break down all the features, the things I think work, and the things I don't think work about this DLC, let's explain why the answer to that question was a maybe. Basically, do I think this is an essential DLC? Absolutely not. Does this DLC have some fun features? Yes, it does. If you're interested in those features, and I do mean really interested, then it probably is for you. Otherwise, if you aren't, I would suggest you look at some other DLC if you're really in the Stellaris DLC market at the moment. Or possibly just keep your money in your pocket and, go and spend it on something else. Before I go any further, I do need to say a thank you to Paradox for giving me a key to this DLC so I could try it out early and thus be able to bring you this review video. Before I get some of those keyboard warriors in the comments, I do want to mention this review has not been, in any way that I'm aware of, influenced by Paradox. It is entirely an independent review, at least as far as I'm able to give, a person that plays Stellaris for a living. With all of that out of the way then, let's dive in. But what is Grand Archive all about? Let's dive in and look at the features, starting off with that titular feature, the Grand Archive. The Grand Archive is a new megastructure you can build very early on in the game. As your scientists fly around the galaxy and complete anomalies, you'll get your hands on specimens that you can display in the Grand Archive. Each specimen comes with some sort of bonus, either an empire-wide bonus like increases to trade value, edict fund, leader experience gain, or resources like unity and research. These specimens can also be sold. They have some cash value if you don't want to keep them anymore or you have too many, as you can only display a total of 27 specimens, and there are 151 specimens included with Grand Archive, plus another boatload that have been included with the other DLCs. This gives a lot more depth, a lot more theme, and a lot more story to each of those anomalies you've gone out and possibly already discovered before, but now get to have something concrete to hold in your hand and read about. The specimen system kind of feels some way between Pokemon, you gotta collect them all, and Trazyn the Infinite's treasure hoard. Alongside the collection, we have the Vivarium. Here you can collect space fauna from out in the galaxy, such as space amoeba, Tianki, voidworms, even crystalline entities. Not only can you grow your own space fauna using this and then command fleets of them, but you can now modify them. There's a system which involves having both offensive modifications, like adding in some disruptors, proton launchers, plasma beams, defensive modifications like shielding, or special modifications like some maneuvering thrusters. This means you'll be able to run entire fleets, or actually you could only run fleets, full of living biological warships. Yes, you're not fully able to customize these warships, and no one lives inside them. The devs have kind of stressed that these are basically overgrown, vicious pets, but it's still the closest thing to bioships we have had in Stellaris so far. Speaking of bioships, we've got a couple of new types of space fauna, the voidworms and the Cuthaloids. The voidworms also come with their very own mid-game crisis, the voidworm plague, where they're going to get frenzied. They are going to start trying to eat and destroy their natural habitat, which unfortunately includes all of the people living in your empire. Yes, they're going to try and kill all of you, fill you up with parasites, and give birth to more voidworms. Alongside the new space fauna and new specimen system, we've got some traditions, origins, and civics that enhance their playstyle. Domestication is all about space fauna, giving you lots and lots of bonuses to all things space fauna, including damage output, growing new ones, capturing them, basically pretty much anything you could think of. On the specimen side of things, we have the archivism tradition, which is all about all things specimen, giving you bonuses for having specimens and increasing your ability to get hold of them. Then we've got the new origins. Treasure Hunters is about all things specimen. This is the kind of the Grand Archive origin. Treasure Hunters is mainly about the fun narrative chain you can dive through, which, if you've seen the movie Treasure Planet, I don't want to spoil anything for you, but basically, this is kind of the Treasure Planet origin. On the space fauna side of things, we have Primal Calling. This is all about capturing, breeding, and controlling space fauna. With this origin, you'll also be choosing a special stance with the space fauna once you actually meet them. Whether or not you'll treat them as livestock in an aggressive or research-focused way, whether or not you'll treat them as a true ecologist and try and conserve them, or simply try and hunt them all. Primal Calling gives you a leg up on all things space fauna related. And then we've got the two new civics. Galactic Curators is the Grand Archive civic. This guarantees that you'll have the Grand Archive technology as a research option, and you'll start with some extra specimens already in your collection. Reducing the cost of constructing the Grand Archive means you'll get to interact with all those new specimen features earlier than any other empire. Beastmasters is going to let you start off with the gravity snare and artificial breeding technologies, meaning you can, right from the start of the game, capture space fauna and breed more of them. You'll also get access to the special Beast Port, which is a mixture between a hatchery, allowing you to clone new space fauna ships, and also a shipyard, so you can actually build regular civilian ships as well. Grand Archive also includes 17 new relics and 3 new music tracks. Alright, you've heard the features, let's talk about what works. The Grand Archive system and the collection system, the specimens, is honestly a lot of fun. It's quite fun getting something extra for your empire as you're going and completing these anomalies. It's also really cool to come back and read the thematics of each of these new specimens. We don't have a system in Stellaris for keeping track of what has happened throughout history, unlike a game like Europa Universalis 4, which has a cool system for that. However, this so far is the closest we are going to get. The Space Fauna dedicated playstyle is also quite a new, interesting, and unique way to play. You can play without ever really getting many alloys and still having quite a large fleet. Now I want to talk about some of the negatives. Yes, it's cool that you can add in lots of new features, lots of new weapons and defenses to your space fauna. However, the overall effectiveness of this system at the moment does feel rather limiting. You can only add a couple of weapons or defenses, you have to pick between them, to your space fauna. So if you want to add some shields, that means you can't add as many lasers. We also cannot design the basic features of the Tiyanki here, of the space fauna, so we're stuck with whichever weapons they've already got. In this case, energy siphons. Filling up your entire fleet with energy siphons is going to be a recipe for disaster when you run into something with lots and lots of armor, or longer range than you, or a myriad of other things. It would be much cooler if we could fully design this space fauna, if we had kind of a proper bioship experience. Because at the moment, unless these numbers get tweaked quite massively, I don't really think these ships are particularly powerful given how expensive they are. But of course, I should mention that we do have the Custodian team. The Stellaris team often come back, tweak, and look at systems again, so it's very possible that this may change in future. But for now, the ship design system with the space fauna is definitely a little lackluster, because it doesn't really feel like it has much impact on anything. Overall, I quite enjoyed getting hold of these specimens, collecting them, playing around with the Grand Archive, but it is definitely in no way a necessary feature for Stellaris. Being able to breed space fauna has been fun as well, but if you're not really into the whole bioship fantasy, then that's probably not a feature that's going to interest you very much. I think if you really want that specimen system, or you really want to breed your own fleets of Tiyanki and Amoeba and Voidworms and all of that space fauna stuff, then this DLC is probably worth it for you. However, if neither the Grand Archive nor the Vivarium and the Space Fauna breeding programs catch your attention, then this DLC is definitely not for you. Possibly wait to pick it up until it gets reduced in a sale, which won't be for at least a year. Paradox do generally tend to wait until at least a year after the release of a DLC before they put it at a discounted sale price. At $15, there are other, better, cheaper DLC you could pick up if you don't already own most of the Stellaris DLC. And that's why my rating overall for this DLC is a maybe. It's much better than Cosmic Storms, and there is quite a lot of story packed into it, but at the $15, €15 or £12.50 price mark, it is absolutely not an auto buy. If you've enjoyed this review of Grand Archive, but you're wondering about some of the other DLC in Stellaris and whether you should buy those, you might be more interested in the Machine Age. If you'd like to find out more about that DLC, click the video on screen now.